everyone, to the Jankyard. I am your host, The Treatment, and tonight we have the one, the only, the wise, the charming, the full of hype Clue, Mr. Gerald Loophole.
Greetings, gamers! Welcome to another fantastic game of Ashes. I could not be more honored to be brought out of semi retirement to be hosting with the ever suave and dapper The Treatment.
Great to have you. This is a collaboration. Normally, we have our own sort of channels or things going on. You have your cool graphics and wise analysis, and I'm just a goofball on the screen. So hopefully tonight we can bring the people what they really want. Um,
It'll
and,
be a nice change for me to have someone that knows the meta and B what the cards do. So that'll be a change for me right now.
well, I'm not even playing in the collection, so who knows if I know what the cards do? Never really remember. It's like, oh yeah, that thing. Yeah, right. Forget the little side text there. The players are ready. I'm gonna hop over to the game. Let's pop it over and let them know we are good to go.
All right.
Yeah. Have you watched any matches at all
Of the
of the
collection,
collection? Yeah.
I have not specifically. Are they keeping their same decks, or what is this exactly?
Yeah. So it was interesting. This year we went with open list, or I should say Carl did because he's the organizer, and
Mhm.
that was really great because it means that we haven't done one in ages, kind of like back to the shuffle bus days or the waves open, and B, because there was no secret information, means that I was able to watch. Well, anyone was able to watch all the games, and yeah, makes the pre-planning first five phase a little more tense for the players. Both players
Yeah.
were taking a nervous pee right before we started streaming, so there you go.
This is the sort of behind the
Behind
pull
the
the curtain
scenes
back.
thing, yeah.
What do we got here? We got Demona Odestar versus Rin Northel. Good to see Rin. You don't see him about that often.
Nope.
And I am the Fallen, the dreaded Fallen. Are they back or is this an outlier?
Oh, that's a complex question. So, nature has virtually fallen out of favor in the recent meta, but since like divine and illusion. So Fred is actually one of the few people running things like Ice Trap and for nature, especially after the Molten Gold ban. And
Hmm.
so this is like a little bit of a classic deck with many sources of ping, which happens or could potentially be very good against the Fallen, which has made a little bit of a comeback, especially or specifically in Demona, ever since the divine, or sorry, the divinity mount, which we lovingly call the
Yeah.
dragon,
Yeah.
because
My
it's the poison pill sort of deck. Either kill the allies or they exhaust themselves, and then you always have to fear the both the Empyrean mount and the dragon AoE.
Yeah, 100%. One of the last times that I played in a tournament, I just got smoked and I was not even aware that the thing existed.
Hmm.
It was like, oh, well, that was a good turn three win, top of three. Nice.
Yeah, it's nasty. The dragon alone, even outside of Fallen, has really brought Demona into the top ranks. I know Brian had a really good showing one time against Inquisitor, and it was just like Inquisitor was running a great Leo, but round two, between the dragon and a mount, it just wipes your board. It chooses who's gonna block. The swing, and you just get eliminated, and then it's another 6-7 damage swing at top round. So it's crazy.
Yeah. Oofta. We are looking at some dice efficiency happening here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rin way up. We've got the Empyrean Mount has already bid it, leaving just five dice. Demona's already used her ability, and nothing on the Fallen books. Are we in real trouble here, or is this just kind of how the Fallen work here?
Well, I think actually, like, I know Fred has been very nervous about this match. And consequent, like, on the other side of things, Underrug has been terrified about this match because he sees a lot of sources of ping and bypass, which has
Sure.
been rare in this tournament. A lot of people thought it was going to be a very tall tournament with the
Yeah,
Silver Paladin meta that we had just experienced before coming into the collection. Um,
yeah.
and so both of these decks were sort of, I guess, answers to a tall meta. And in this matchup, I think that Fred potentially has a slight advantage with the amount of ping and AoE that his deck is bringing. He's actually got Nature's Wrath, Survival of the Fittest, Blood Chains, Clashing Tempers. Like, he's got everything. Blood Brawl. So it's his matchup with all the old salts too is really good. And he was very patient. We sort of didn't commentate on it, but he was patient, waiting for the mount to come out and then using Shattering Fist to remove it rather than giving any sort of status tokens. Um, so yeah, it's going to be interesting. I still think that at any moment, though, uh, the Fallen deck is dangerous. We saw,
Hmm.
you didn't see it, I guess, if you haven't been watching the matches, but there was a prior match where Under Rug was going into round two with no tokens, and then top of round two, he drew the third Fallen book, and it just spiraled out of control really fast. I mean, there's only so many times you can either let the Demona players swing their allies for free without countering or removing them and then eventually facing the Fallen. Um, so yeah,
Which is,
it was pretty dangerous.
it puts Demona in a weird uh, parallax just because of her lower life total at 17.
Hmm.
Um, but then Rin also low at 17. So I think, yeah, we're looking at two real control matches. With the longer the game goes, the more it swings into Demona's favor, I would figure.
Yeah.
Starting off with Turtle Guard, when you see Demona across the board from you, mistake or just going into his game plan?
So it's an interesting question. I probably wouldn't have done that. However, the other option that he has is Shroud, and knowing that the Demona player doesn't have Ice Trap or anything like that, it would also just be a dead card. So Fred did do a double. Well, actually, did an Old Salt Knight start in the previous game, which was really solid.
Mm.
Here, I think the Turtle Guard is really meant to either soak up things like the light swordsman swings and the ally swings, so you know you're going to give your opponent the fallen, but trying to gain round over round efficiency value with the one die guard and not taking it to face. It's also something that, as long as you can keep the Empyrean mount down, it survives against the dragon. Or it doesn't survive against the dragon. It survives the dragon's AoE on the swing, so it can
Yeah, that's
actually
for cool.
block it. So that's probably the thinking there, and it can't. I don't think Under Rug is running Lightbringer. I forget, but if he was, no, he's not. Um, it would be, another good unit that isn't going to get you caught out of position because of its rooted ability. All right, so we've got, yeah. Let's get to some commentary for the people who are
Yeah,
watching or listening.
sec-
We are.
with you go.
I was just gonna say we're still round one. Here, how about this? I'll do Fred, and you cover what Underrug has played here. So we've got Fred down to one last die. He has not yet summoned the Turtle Guard. He played a Hammer Knight in his opening and Shattering Fist to remove that Empyrean mount. He's got the Exhausted Dweller that hit for 3, and the Adaptodon that's just sitting pretty. And yeah, so that's he's in a pretty solid position right now. And what do you think about Underrug?
Well, Underrug just swung with one of his two light swordsmen, so everyone's exhausted. He's got two light swordsmen and a glory aspirant. swung over to take out. Oh boy. Um, to take out the Dweller, but with the two books of the Fallen, it seems like a massive mistake to leave it open. I don't know what is his hand because he does have two go heads up and two cards in hand.
Hmm.
The only thing I can think of is that he's got the aforementioned Saka guy, exhausted guy, but that would be a big risk to take,
Yeah, we
especially
know
with the still out there.
he's got old salts, fire archers in deck. Um, Nothing has died, so he's not going to be able to spend those on fallen yet. And then he has a reclaimed soul. Final Cry, I'm assuming if he had started it, it would have been played already, and that wouldn't really be a good first step five option. So it's yeah, it's very curious. Oh, okay, of course, and one die for the dragon.
There's
So
the dragon.
yeah,
Okay. But even then, I think the Hammer Knight could have gotten in for three there.
yeah, it could have. Maybe a timing issue where Fred swung for two, uh, and he didn't put the turtle guard down. So now he's sort of lost. Yeah, I guess he forgot. Oh, right. He sort of lost board advantage because he was looking pretty good, and now he's not going to be able to take out the divinity mount with the Hammer Knight because Underrug still has his guard. So,
Yeah, the last swing that he could have pulled out there is that like Fred swung with the Adaptodon instead of swinging with the Hammer Knight, and I guess you pressure the breaking the guard, but it doesn't matter because the only thing you got left is the turtle guard to throw
yeah,
out there.
yeah, I think maybe that was a little sequencing misplay on Fred's part, not getting the turtle down earlier. Uh, because then he would have actually been able to keep all of his units and threaten the divinity mount a little bit better. He could have swung the Adaptodon, it would have been guarded, and then he would have had the Hammer Knight ping to back it up. Um, so yeah, very very interesting. Kyle is in chat. Hey Kyle, how's it going? Ready for some fallen? Last card Shepherd. Maybe, who knows what he had. It could have been. I think he probably just had one die ready for the fallen. Is my guess.
Yeah, I guess. Boy, now it's Fred top round going into round two. We got
Hmm.
a full board. Now, I don't want to understate, though, that Demona has taken seven in round one. That's not for nothing, folks. Um, and with the Divinity Mount still out there, if that thing dies, right, it drops another three wounds on Demona. But we got Glory Aspirant, two Light Swordsmen, a Divinity Mount ready to go to play defense on Fred's go. His dice look fine. The only thing you might want to do is roll up to a snake head, but that's all I could think of. How's it looking on Fred's side?
Yeah, well, top around is definitely important here because he's looking at potentially a big counter swing as well. I think he rolled great. I mean, two frogs is
Yeah.
nice to be able to ping, even if you know you're going to start facing fallen this round. The question is, can he make up for the dice efficiency? There's two old salts in the bin, which is not exactly what you want to see, but he does have the ability at any point to recur them. And under rug, he got away with basically not meditating a single die last round. So as far as a long fatigue game, both players are in a fairly decent position, but I think that goes to the fallen at all points. The damage is the concerning thing, like you said. Another three damage if the divinity mount dies, and then having to guard, let's say, a hammer knight or anything else, and all of a sudden you're looking at hanging on four life. But four life is a lot when you're facing Demona. The counter swings can be pretty brutal.
Yeah. Absolutely. We may end up seeing those. If Fred gets the win, it's probably going to be on the back of Fire Archers, right? That's all I can leave. And speaking of, there's one to the bin.
One to the bin, yeah. Um, by the way, I guess, I forgot that I was looking at the deck list and that covers up your face. So there's a couple moments where your face went to a blank screen, but that's my bad. Uh, so if people wanted to
My,
see you the whole game,
doesn't, doesn't look like the card is talking. It's just blank. Oh, that's disappointing.
yeah. All right. So, I mean, I'm not a Demona player. I'm not a Fallen player. Knowing when to swing this dragon, I think, has to be a fairly complex calculation. Um, the Hammer Knight, especially an ice buffed Hammer Knight, is also a problem because it is just going to soak up potentially a ton of swings. Yes, at the cost of
Mhm.
giving fallen tokens, but you're not really breaking through the wall. And then the turtle guard is still there no matter what to at least absorb the either the Empyrean mount or the Divinity mount swings. Um,
The turtle guard call might I might have been a little bit overly harsh on choosing that book because it's one of the few units that can withstand a forked lightning, which you 100% know is under rug swept deck, and divinity bounce swing too. Three butts are going to be a premium in this matchup, right?
Yeah, the ice buff I think is really gonna make a difference. There's also a lot of clashing tempers. I think the full suite of three, if I recall, in Brad's deck, and that is a really good card outside of the AOE cards for all these weenies that Underrug is running. Because really the only other problem that Fallen has is self clog. If you can summon all the things you want, but if you're not going to swing for lethal, Fred definitely has good counter swing ability, and even the Ruin Dwellers at some point, it's like he puts the dice down, lets them die, and then you're still chipping away at your own life total.
Mm-hmm.
But Underrug is also running a lot of heal. He's running heal. He's running
Hey.
reclaim soul, and
Oh my goodness.
yeah, so it's like these decks are very well matched. This is a very exciting sort of final because they have all the answers. Speaking of heals, look at them go, meditated
There's
away.
there's two of them right there.
Yeah,
Heal's one of my least favorite cards. I'm glad that it exists in the game, and I understand the reason that it exists, but it's still a feel bad card to me somehow. Um, but I am surprised, like you mentioned, I think two of the more overpowered cards that have come out in the new cycle with Clashing Tempers and Forked Lightning. I think if you just ran a deck with just those two cards, a three of an each, that's going to get you tempo in so many matchups.
yeah, it definitely covers your bases. If you are expecting any sort of low to the floor deck, which is why the meta was so tall for a while. Like all this one life or one attack hate, as we like to call it, was really putting pressure on the low to the ground decks, and so everyone was expecting sort of tall. And then next thing you know, we've got Fallen, we've got two Kojis running Hopper, Wishing Wing. We've got a Ramia. Carl's playing Wishing Wing hoppers with
Nice.
Secret Door, and a couple other decks that were all just like I was like, wow, we really flipped it. I mean, even the deck I was running was fairly low to the ground, so yeah, it very interesting. We never do what we're
If
supposed to do.
well, no, you're doing exactly right. So if you're newer players and you're playing a deck that doesn't work right now, just hold on to it because eventually the meta is going to come back around, right? You're going to start with your weenies low to the ground, then it'll go to your mid range people, and then it'll go to your tall knights, and then it'll come back around to your weenies. Like as long as I've been playing this game, which admittedly not super long, like compared to other folks like Carl, the founder of the feast. Awesome job, by the way, Carl, for organizing all this. Um, but yeah, it just goes around. The evolution of this game is always circular, and I
Hmm.
think that really helps with new releases and everything. I was really hoping to see more illusion dice because that's in my back pocket that I love, but this is also very cool to see these almost old school decks. Like I am very familiar with these play lines that I think we're going to be seeing a lot of.
Yeah, for sure. Well, unfortunately, you've missed the last two matches were almost versus mono illusion decks. Brankus versus Abby, which I couldn't cover. What he's playing mono illusion or was he's now out, and Ninja was playing a 7-3 illusion charm split. We're missing a lot of action here. Holy moly! Okay,
Boom!
so Fred,
Boom! Demona drops the Silver Paladin.
yeah, I mean you're not spending dice on Fallen, and you're getting to your limit. You might as well drop the big boy. Ruin Dweller swung at the dragon, and Underrug, looking at a trade of either guarding for 3 life or losing the dragon for 3 life, chose to let it go, and is now dropping the big boy, the Silver Paladin that we expected everyone to see. Oh, right
There's
away.
the Fester right
Fester.
back in your face.
Ping Fester, the old class. You see, you're just talking about classic play lines.
Yeah.
And there you go. Ping Fester is a classic, and Fred has it right away, has the answer in hand. Boom. That
But that
is,
loads up those Fallen books right away too.
yeah, he's going to get a couple more too. This is a big swing, and at least, you're facing 6 damage. No, sorry, 7 damage potentially. You're going to eat something. And it was a fire archer, so that's another point down on Fred. He's still looking good though. 14 life against 6. There's no molten
Mhm.
gold, so there is no easy finish for the win. But yeah, what?
So I think. Oh no, you can't. You can only swim with one dude. Uh, if you know your opponent's, because you're already down to 6, you can't really spare the life. You can't allow the Hammer Knight to get through.
Mhm.
And if you know your opponent has got Clashing Tempers, oh, but he's already got an ice buff on there.
Well, clashing tempers,
Okay.
but he's also got frog showing, right? So
Yeah,
you have
in
to leave at
hands
least
already.
2 defenders back. Um, yeah, this is okay. So he's gonna swing the light swordsman and the divine buffed fire archer for 4 damage. I think Fred is probably gonna guard one of these. And if he has Nature's Wrath, that would be as soon as Underreg drops Fallen, that would look pretty rough, for his board. All right, so he's guarding the light swordsman. Yeah, I think that's a
Mm.
solid call. Um, what is your thought? We didn't talk about it. I don't know if you have the deck list up, but Fred has Frost Frog in his deck, and he didn't play it, and it's now been meditated. Would you have played Frost Frog in this matchup?
I think, especially from my earlier assumptions, 100%. I am one of the world's worst Frost Frog players, but that little amphibian has wrecked my day over and over again. So yeah, I think I really do, especially knowing how little um, ping Demona runs except through the dragon, right?
Yeah,
I think that's definitely the way to go.
and the exhaustion I think is much more helpful in some ways than the turtle guarding. I don't know though. I mean, that's just my opinion. You bypass all these small allies for the swings that you need to win the game.
Hmm.
Potentially difference. Maybe he was worried that he would have to guard too much to keep it alive, or have to ice buff it too much to keep it alive. Um,
Yeah,
who
very
knows?
possible. Because is it a frog?
It is a
It is.
frog. Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
don't know if he's thinking that far ahead if the for a game going that long, but it's definitely a very serious consideration.
Fred is a very uh, intensive calculation guy. He really tries to plan out his entire round ahead of time, like in terms of mentally calculating the dice he has to spend when he's going to sequence things out. That's why there's a slight discrepancy in the clock times. He's on just about 17 minutes, and Underrug's on
Yeah.
19. He really thinks through a lot of his play lines and really prioritizes the round over round efficiency sort of control style game. Um, and I mean, it's paid off. He's in the quarter or the semifinals, so he's here. But
Yeah.
now Underrug's in the tank. He says, "Hmm, what?"
Yep. He's taking his first break here to see check the field out, and they're both at a standstill, right? I don't see any advantage to either player for a swing. So that means whoever's got the most books or most cards at hands has the advantage, which right now that's going to be under Fred. But it just feels like under rug swept is it's got the books. Fallen Books has got 2 tokens on each one. It's just a matter of time. Do you try and play out? Do you try and draw out the Nature's Wrath? Ooh.
So we were talking about clashing tempers. Fred's favorite card.
Yeah.
This is going to be a little bit problematic. Yes, Urs will get a third fallen token, but it's going to be a big swing for 5 here.
Big swing.
And that means that unless Underrug can win, which I don't think he can with 3 dice remaining, Fred just needs to roll or meditate up for Fire Archer, and also not
Yeah.
get destroyed. I mean, he doesn't have top of round. He's got round 3 to make sure he still stays alive at the top with the Hammer Knight, which I think will stay alive. That's a 6 life Hammer Knight. That is beefy.
Yeah, and it goes back to the idea of like you have to have more blockers on there. Now, at the same time, it's tough to keep track of all that stuff. I get it. There's so many like Clashing Tempers. I think, like I said, it's one of the more overpowered cards out there. So you got to start cranking out. You need some sort of defense. Get a couple fallen out there. And now, yeah, Fred just plays the waiting game.
Mm-hmm.
Snap back the Fire Archer and call it a day. But for now, hey, let's get a turtle. Turtle up, hang out.
Turtle up is good. It's going to definitely stay alive. So that's the other thing, is it for sure stays alive. What are we looking at? Top of round, potentially for Underrug would be side action. Use the Immortal Commander, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on a full swing. But you're swinging into a Hammer Knight as if it stays alive. So 8 is not enough. I think that's probably what Fred was looking at. He's like, do I lose on the counter swing?
Yeah.
I guess, oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 2 more fallen to come down. So actually, that is 9, 10, 11, 12. That is technically a lethal swing if he could clear this board. But I don't think he can.
With only 2 dice, no way. I did love that show though. Growing up, I'm a little bit older. Watching 8 is Not Enough. That was one of my childhood favorites.
That I know a lot of old shows, and that one I do not know. Actually, I was like, I know
that's going way back. That's might be a little bit before me, actually.
I was thinking like 8 out of 10 Cats, the Great British comedy panel question show.
I just watched a couple of those reels of those. All right, now getting 2 of the fallen in gets the life down to 10. 2 more fallen. Now, Under Rug Swept has the top around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have really appreciated this because the idea of like it's just over, right? And then the more fallen keep creeping out. The Immortal Commander's there, and you're just like, well, you know what?
he he's probably just gonna take this two to the face because now Underrug is at 7 on board. He's at his limit, and so you take two to the face. You go down to 8. You are facing potentially a lethal swing, but whatever. I don't know what he's got for one die, and I don't want to block out your face again. So it's a mystery to me. I forget what else he could be running. Um, but maybe that die is dead in hand for Fred, in which case, uh, he's technically on the edge here. Um, he can block
Yeah.
3, so you block 3, you're still facing 8
All
damage
right. All right.
with
Both players snap past though, and we're going to the top of round 3. So we're going to see it live in action right now. What's going to
re.
happen? Um, Rug, Under Rug just dumped his hand.
Mm-hmm.
He is digging for something specifically.
So he had another
Um,
light swordsman in hand, which is probably what Fred was anticipating, taking another
mhm.
2 to the face, putting him down to 6, which then I think
Yeah,
is lethal.
all the difference in the world. Reclaim Soul.
Oh man,
What?
Kyle called it in chat. He said reclaim soul top of round.
Really?
There you go.
Ooh.
All right. Well, that puts it an end to the ceremonial recur fire archer for the win game plan. So now
Yeah.
we're back into a lot of decision points.
Yeah, we just got a little bit of a reprieve there. And we've talked about like they had Reclaim Soul in there, and that's exactly what he was digging for, or the heal. Either one. I don't know if he's running a full complement, but he got it. He's got the governor's reprieve. There's 9 cards left in his deck. There's 10 left in Fred's. It's top of the round. Only 1 die spent. How does Fred's board look now?
90% of or 50% I should say of Fred's deck is action cards, and at least 4 of those cards are AoE. So we know that Nature's Wrath. I'm, I'm assuming he had a pretty good draw potential to get one of those or Survival of the Fittest. He's also got Blood Brawl, but he's got no wounds on his units, so that's not going to help anything. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so he's really like he's potentially looking at wiping the board once, and then you've got 3 tokens on the fallen, so you're looking at least another 4 coming out. Um, that's the efficiency game is a little rough here. I'd probably play Adaptodon and just ping away one of these fallen and get your own board built up a little bit. Kyle is doing the work for us. Heal is all gone. He's running 2 heal, 2 reclaim souls. So there's 1 reclaim left then.
Okay. I think if I'm Fred, I'm probably a little bit more aggressive here. I think I snap back the old Saul, get it into play,
Oh,
or just drop the Hammer Knight if you got one.
yeah, if you
That
have a
seems
second.
pretty reasonable.
Oh, no, and he meditate. Okay, well, we just saw 2 of the AoEs meditated away, the Fancy Nature's
Okay.
Wrath and the Survival of the Fittest.
That Nature's Wrath is sick. Nice.
Were they
All right.
both, yeah, from deck. If only.
Third summon third summon fallen book has dropped. We're
Uh-oh.
under now it snaps back to Fred's turn.
This is pretty good though for Fred. Having an alert unit against the fallen, even if they are swinging for 2 at some point with a mortal commander, is a really
Yes.
nice place to be.
Yep. And if he's got the Nature's Wrath, the game is over at this point. Nope.
It's
No, I take that back because he got the third summon book, so he'll just be able to get 3 dudes out there. But even then, so if he's got Nature's Wrath, Clashing Tempers, Dunzo, doesn't look
yeah,
like that's the case.
it's interesting. I'm I don't know. What when you play, do you are
Mhm.
you fairly honest in chat, or do you ever play a little bit of mind games? So Fred in the chat says, "Oh man, if only I had discarded one more." Is that him being just reactionary and like, shoot, I really don't have Nature's Wrath in hand, or is there maybe some mind play being like, oh, I do have it, but now I'm going to make you think that I've discarded the only one that's there.
If you're asking me personally, if I'm a coy player, a little shy with my hand, no, I can barely fit through 3 steps ahead. If I go to that fourth level, it's not going to happen. Fred and this new generation of players, boy, they can be as flirtatious as they want to be, and I would not know. So it's what in your experience, you've gotten to play him a little bit more. What do you think?
uh, I think I think it was probably honest, and so I'm like, oh man, I don't know. That might be a bad reveal of your own hand. Um, that doesn't mean obviously that Underrug's gonna just swing all out, but yeah, that would be a next level play. I think sometimes you're, oh shoot, I don't have the AOE. Nope, psych, I do. I,
Oh,
um,
okay.
oh
Rune
man,
Dweller by Fred snapped back with a Fire Archer from Underrug. We're looking at 3 life on Underrug, 7 on Fred, but that Rune Dweller is a big representation now.
it's a big swing to let come back, but it's also a little bit of a problem because it means that, yep, threatening the immortal commander, which you might not want to guard, and if Underrug had chosen to swing, that's at least one more burn damage. And if you don't take out the Ruined Dweller, Fred does have top of round, and he's also going to get that one burn damage. So really, he only needs to get Underrug to 1 life and end the round, and he wins if he can survive. And he ice buffs it to make sure that it is extra hard, extra sticky.
Like that card is like efficient enough. I remember when it first came out, the everyone thought the sky was falling, and then no one, as far as I know, put Rin with it till way later to make it a 3/3, which was just nightmare inducing.
Yeah, a 3/3 that is always pressuring guard and also has the end around advantage is really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, so much so that Rug is going after it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, oh,
Losing
oh.
that
Rethought
immortal
it.
commander, I think, is actually a huge relief for Fred, because that
Yes.
turns all these fallen into lethal damage on a big all-out swing. And now it's a little bit trickier with the math. You have to be a little more patient. Um, One thing we didn't talk about, and that's mainly because they don't have the card list up. Underrug has now spent is it 2 or 3 dice on ceremonial dice specifically on non-fallen stuff. He's brought out the Fire Archer, the Old Salt, and he used Reclaim Soul. So he's giving up his ability to constantly spam out these fallen. And I don't know if that's because he literally has no other options, which is a little bit of a pickle, or because he actually does think that a fire archer and an old salt is the way, the path to victory. Um, it's an interesting choice.
Hmm. I boy, I think. All right, so Fred passes, feeling confident a little bit in their turn. I think Rug's just got to swing one at a time for like 2 people, seeing if Demona can use the promote ability. We've got a bunch of white dice just hanging out, and we know those fork lightnings are going to be in there somewhere. Like, those little ping damages add up.
Yeah,
But Fred's got a ton of dice for the counter swing, so he can only do it a couple times, and then if nothing happens, he just got to pass, right?
exactly. Both of them are nearly full on battlefield, and they have a lot of dice to spend. If this ruin dweller, I think Fred's just sort of gaming the the end of round damage. Old Salt swings. Nope. Underrug chooses to swing Fire Archer. You know what? I think he does have. I think he does have Fork Lightning. That's that might be why he knows that he can get one chip damage in, or maybe he just knows that he's got so many attackers he can take his time.
Like one of those things, like he can kind of take his time, but not really, just because of all the ping and the AOE. Like I wouldn't want to swing with more than one more. Let's see if you saw into the future for that fork lightning or not here.
Yeah, he's also like you said, he's got to worry about um, clashing tempers, and maybe that's why he chose to keep the Old Salt back because it's the only thing right now that is stopping a lethal counter swing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh,
one, two.
that's fire archer, so you don't really want to promote that one per se. Well, what were we gonna say? I apologize. What was that?
No, that is. I was actually going to say the opposite. I was thinking about mounting the fire archer, knowing that you could potentially at least chip away one more damage, isn't the worst idea. Oh wait, was I on mute?
No, nope, 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 not at all. Fred snap passes again back to Rug to drive it. So Fred feels confident, or quite the opposite. One of the two, just to trying to get to the next turn. But I don't see how the math changes by having more dice, unless you do what gets a. This comes down to Ruin Dweller, right?
Oh, takes it to face. Okay, so he's really forcing Underrug to use up all of his resources. It's a 4-on-4 swing. Clashing Tempers would remove 2 of these, which then means that the Hammer Knights will get blocked and the Adaptodon would punch for 2. It's not quite enough. I don't. Oh no, wait. If the Hammer Knights get blocked, that will remove the other another Fallen. So you would have an
Mm-hmm.
unblocked Hammer Knight for lethal going through.
Well, not if he swings right now, right? So you got two Hammer Knights
No, no. If he
and the
if he has
Adept.
clashing tempers and he swings, I think that is game.
One, two. They block the Adaptodon first. Oh, there. All right.
Clashing
Well, we're gonna
tempers.
find out.
Yep. I think I'm right. I think I always forget the sequencing exactly of what happens when
Well,
a
it's
defender is removed while blocking. So this
yeah, they're
buffs up
still blocked.
the Adaptodon. Yeah, I think this is it. I think this is GG.
Fred's heart is racing.
Did
They're giving each
he?
other's GGs. Let's finish the game first, fellas.
Oh, there were already 2 ice adaptations out, so he could only. Oh, I didn't even think about the
Yeah.
conjuration limit. I think this is lethal. He chooses to use one of the Hammer Knights, gets the Aftershock ability on another Fallen. Yeah, and then 3 damage goes through. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Both of them are saying G to
No.
each other, and then like, wait, is it?
Who's gonna win?
This is where you really need to know the rules and battle resolution.
Wow, that was amazing. Congratulations to Fred on that swing. A great run by Underrug Swept with the Fallen. This game was awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, this was a lot of fun. It looked almost over, and then that Reclaimed Soul and the third summon book changed all of
Yeah.
the math. Um,
Yeah.
that was very interesting. Yeah, really, really good.
Wow.
Wow. Oh, Carl is in chat and he says that was there for a while and he didn't see the line. Okay. Well, Carl, you're the best, and we didn't see the line either. So um, it was very interesting. I think he really just wanted to make sure there was no space on Underrug's side, and maybe he was scared of the mount, but that was nicely played. The buff up on the Ruin Dweller, I think, was a really nice play to soak all that damage.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I didn't even catch the ice adaptation. I thought it was like, oh, he's gonna remove two blockers, but the limit is two on both adaptation types. So wow.
Hmm.
Well, there you go. So we know Fred is making it to the finals, which is very exciting on a Rin deck, which for the longest time, was never a contender.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great to see Rin in here and doing well. That's fantastic.
And on the other side of the bracket, Carl and Brian have yet to play their quarterfinal game. So we really don't know who's going to face off against Abby. And then from Abby versus Brian or Carl, they will make it to the finals. So it's going to be exciting. It's a potentially Koji in the finals or potentially a Rami in the finals. You know, provided Brian loses. So either one of those, I don't think in the past you would have ever called.
And if you can get if Rin's in there already, it's very possible in my life cycle of this game to see a championship versus two Phoenixborn that we have not seen. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that's true. And not that I want Carl to lose, but potentially, I mean, if Abby makes it, uh, she has certainly earned her year in terms of, being one of the most improved candidates for the game. And coming up with a very aggressive Koji list in this meta, I think, was a really interesting play. So that would be very exciting for her. So,
It,
you know,
didn't she win the vaunted best Abby her rookie year?
she didn't. Fred won best rookie last year.
Uh,
So yeah, it would be sort of two, more recent players in the final, which is always exciting. Speaking of though, you made me remember because I skipped this last time. You want to stay on for the awards? We've got a couple awards that I
oh,
forgot
sure,
to
yeah, yeah.
give out last time. We are gonna just see. Let's Carl. Okay, so we've got the Rookie of the Year award. This there were a lot of great rookies actually. You were mentioning that there's a lot of new faces in the community before we actually started the stream, and one of those is our Rookie of the Year. He has been on fire with very aggressive decks and in particular a very aggressive Koji style of play. EB Fritz is our Rookie of the Year. So
Right on.
congratulations, EB. I know you're not in chat. Doesn't look like, but yeah, he. When I first played him, I was like, "Who's this EB guy?" Like I thought, sometimes you see a new player on Ash Techie, and you're like, "Okay, I'm not gonna play a super competitive deck or whatever. You're just gonna play a game." And
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, you can do 14 damage on turn, like on one turn." That was a big counter swing. I was not expecting that. Um, Especially out of a rainbow list, because he plays a lot of rainbow lists. So yeah, he has really come out of nowhere, and he brought his brother and his father along, which is really cool. Growing the community.
Oh, oh, that's fantastic. A man after my own heart. It's one of those rainbow lists. The more color dice, the more options you have. Fantastic. And making it a family affair, you
Hmm.
always got someone to play with. So congrats, EB Fritz. That's amazing.
And our second award is the most improved player award. So this is a new award for this year, and the two candidates were Ninja and Abby, and the winner is Ninja. So Congratulations, Ninja. He's asleep right now. He's in Ireland, so he's 4 a.m. or whatever, 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Um, he made a massive run this year, sort of the way Under Rug Swept came out, last year, and just really put in the time, the effort to iterate on a few decks and then just crush it everywhere in all the tournaments. Ninja has
Yeah.
been doing that this year, so very well deserved. It was a tough decision. It was kind of like, how do you measure most improved? Do you measure most improved based off of the ceiling that an individual player reached, or sort of the gap of where they started from and where they ended up? And that's it was a tough call. But sort of Ninja, I guess, was the higher ceiling, whereas Abby might have done a wider gap of improvement. And I don't know what the vote tallies were, but I'm assuming that it was very close. Both players
I knew
earning,
it was close.
yeah.
I was around when both of them started, I'm pretty sure. And in fact, I've worked with Abby before. I actually hired her as an artist.
Oh,
Um, yep. So yeah, that's amazing that they both were up because I covered Ninja versus EB Fritz in one of the matches, and to hear that Abby has also gotten into that tier of playing excellence, that's just a great sign of a healthy community. That's just awesome to hear. Way to go, guys!
yeah, yeah. I love this community. It's always fun. We've got 4 awards next left, and we've got 2 games to cover. So I think I'm just gonna leave the remaining ones. The remaining ones will be contributor of the year, or Gilstream Person of the Year, Deck Builder of the Year, and a new category, which is Hall of Fame of the Year, which is,
Oh,
yeah, I think that's one that we've been missing, but the community is now, what, 10 years old, I guess, since the original Ashes, which I wasn't around for. But
yeah,
there's definitely
same
some Hall of Famers in the community.
for sure. I'll give it to someone else. You don't have to give it to me. That's fine. But I think I probably have an idea of who the top three are for that category. So,
I looked at the list of the candidates, and I was like, I have to pick 5 out of these, 8 people. I mean, it was surprisingly very tough. I mean, there's, all the classic good
yeah,
players. There was also Dijon and Skak for their contributions to the community, and a
monster
few others, and like Nick Conley. How do you ignore Nick Conley and Isaac as the
for
developers
sure.
and creators of the game? So it was like just really tough to decide. So that'll be an exciting reveal. We'll do that for the finals for sure. And maybe I don't know, if you've got the time, it would be great to have you back.
Oh, yeah, maybe we'll just kind of see how it goes. I'm glad that nothing started on fire immediately when I came on, so that's a good sign. And it helps that this game was phenomenal. This, like, no matter how good or how cheeky we may be, it comes down to the action. And when you're into the top four and you've got players this good going at it, like, we don't have to say anything. This was amazing. Thank you again so much.
I really appreciate having your color on the game, rather than me just saying, okay, so this player attacked and this player defended. I'm just a transcript of what's going on in Ashteki. Having a little bit of color to the scene is always a pleasure. Your personality is always making me smile. I'm full of joy right now, at midnight, as it is. And yeah, we've got our great community members who joined. Carl, Kyle, thank you. And whoever else ends up watching this stream at a later date, for our international friends who are maybe just waking up, catch this awesome game. We'll hopefully be able to catch the remaining few games. And that's about all I have to say for tonight. Do you have a sign off on your channel for all your fans?
The only thing I do for Ash's game is just giving the props out to the people. You already mentioned Dijon and Skok, two of the main contributors for Ashes.live, where we keep all of our decks, and then Ashes Techie, keep that running. There is a Patreon. Please join it for Ash Techie to keep it going. They don't get paid to do this, so please help out where you can. If these guys didn't exist, we couldn't be doing this part. So thanks to those guys, and thanks to the players, and thanks to Plaid Hat.
Well said. Very well said. And as always, if you're not janky, you're stanky. Frog up, wolf down. Thanks, everyone, and we'll catch you next time. Have a good night or good day if you're starting.
Bye.